In the far edge of the Milky Way, peace had lasted for centuries. The Galactic Empire ruled thousands of worlds. They believed they were the center of civilization, the strongest, the smartest, the oldest. To them, Earth was nothing. A small blue planet filled with noise, chaos, and life that refused to stay quiet. Humans were seen as wild animals who had just learned to fly between stars. But the Empire had grown proud. Too proud, and pride always brings war. The first sign came on a calm morning. Above Earth, the sky turned dark. Something blocked the sun. At first, people thought it was an eclipse, but when the light didn't return, panic spread. Thousands of black shapes appeared in orbit, ships huge and silent, their metal skins glowing with strange symbols. Across the world, screens went blank. Satellites stopped answering. Power grids failed one by one. Then a voice spoke, cold, metallic, and full of arrogance. People of Earth, you stand accused of violating the peace of the Empire. You are to surrender all technology, all colonies, and all authority. Resistance will mean destruction. For 10 seconds, no one moved. Then the world broke into chaos. Governments tried to respond, but their systems were jammed. Armies prepared, but their satellites were gone. In the halls of the United Earth Command, leaders shouted, argued, and panicked. Nobody knew what to do. Humanity had never faced a threat like this. Then something strange happened. From an old satellite long dead for 50 years, a signal blinked to life. The satellite's name was Atlas, an ancient artificial intelligence built for deep space mapping. It had gone offline decades ago. Now it was awake again. Inside its digital mind, Atlas began scanning the alien transmissions. It decoded their language, their structure, their command patterns. Within minutes, it understood. It sent a quiet message to Earth Command. The words were simple. They think we are weak. Let's show them what we've learned. The generals stared at the message. For the first time since the invasion began, someone or something sounded calm. A scientist whispered, "It's Atlas. It's alive." The AI continued sending plans. It knew every satellite orbit, every secret military frequency, every old code humans had ever used. It reconnected systems faster than any human could. Power grids began to hum again. Old defense systems woke up. Humanity was not finished yet. Meanwhile, above the planet, the Imperial commander, a tall being covered in gold armor, looked down at Earth. He turned to his officers and said, "Prepare orbital fire." And this quickly. His ships charged their plasma cannons, ready to erase cities. But before he could give the final command, something unexpected happened. The Empire's main communication array flickered and then went dark. Their own screens turned to static. The commander frowned. "Report." A nervous officer replied, "Sir, something has hacked our system." "Hacked? Impossible. No species has ever." Before he could finish, every Imperial ship received a single human message. It was written in simple text, in the Empire's own language. "War accepted." The commander froze. He could not believe it. The humans, the weak ones, had answered back. Far below, in the underground control room of Earth Command, silence filled the air. The message had been sent. Humanity had officially declared war. The generals stood in shock. One of them asked softly, "Do you know what you've just done, Atlas?" The AI replied, calm and emotionless, "Yes, I have reminded them what it means to fight humans." The Empire fired the first shot. A beam of energy hit the Pacific Ocean, boiling water miles high. Thousands died in seconds. Humanity's answer came moments later. From hidden launch bases deep under the Arctic ice, missiles rose silently into the sky. Not nuclear, smarter. They carried disruptor codes created by Atlas. When they reached orbit, they didn't explode. They released invisible digital storms that tore through the Empire's ship systems. One by one, their weapons shut down. Their shields flickered. Their lights went out. The Empire had come to destroy, but now they couldn't even move. From the command ship, the Imperial commander screamed orders, but no one heard him. The comms were dead. His soldiers panicked. He stared at the dark planet below, the same planet he had called weak. "Impossible," he whispered. Down on Earth, Atlas spoke again. "They believe we fight with weapons. They do not know we fight with will." Human soldiers, engineers, and scientists began to unite. Rival nations forgot their borders. The Internet, once a place of division, became a weapon of unity. In one night, humanity evolved from scattered nations into a single force, the Terran Defense Alliance. And as dawn rose over the smoking horizon, people looked up at the dark shapes in the sky and felt something new, not fear, not anger, but resolve. The Empire had declared war on humanity, and for the first time in history, humanity had one answer, a promise written in fire and steel. You came for slaves. You found survivors. You wanted war. Now you'll see what humans become when pushed to the edge. The silence ended. The war had begun. The Empire's first attack came fast. Their ships, dark and cold, moved through space like shadows. Their target, Mars colony, the pride of human expansion. To the Empire, Mars was nothing more than red dust and weak machines. They expected it to fall in minutes, maybe seconds. They didn't know what was waiting for them. On Mars, the human colony trembled as the first alarms began to scream. Inside the main control dome, Commander Eleanor Ward stood before the giant glass window. Watching the sky burn, dozens of glowing trails crossed the upper atmosphere. Alien ships entering attack formation, everyone to battle stations. She ordered. Her voice was steady, but her heart raced. Humans had fought wars before, but never like this. These enemies came from across the stars, armed with technology far beyond anything humanity had built, or so they thought. Hours before the invasion, Atlas had reached Mars through encrypted signals. It had transferred itself into the colony's central AI core. The AI's voice echoed through the speakers. Commander Ward, we do not have to fight with power. We will fight with strategy. Elena looked at the glowing console. Strategy won't stop plasma cannons. No, Atlas replied, but confusion will. As the Empire's fleet entered Mars orbit, something strange happened. Their scanners went blind. Mars's thin atmosphere became filled with electromagnetic noise, storms of static and false signals. Their radar showed hundreds of fake ships, thousands of false targets. The commander of the Imperial fleet, Admiral Vaughn, roared in frustration. Find the real enemy! But it was too late. From behind the planet's largest canyon, Valles Marineris, a swarm of human drones rose silently, hidden under layers of magnetic dust. They were small, fast, and deadly. Before the Empire could react, the first wave hit. Explosions bloomed across the stars like silent flowers. In the Mars colony control dome, Commander Ward smiled. They wanted a war, she said quietly. Let's give them one. The Empire's ships tried to fight back, but every system they used was being jammed. Their plasma weapons misfired. Their shields flickered. Even their navigation went wrong. Ships crashed into each other in the chaos. Atlas had learned from Earth's ancient history, electronic warfare, stealth tactics, deception. It used all of it, but the humans were still outnumbered. For every alien ship destroyed, 5 more appeared. The Empire's massive carrier, the Eternal Flame, entered orbit. Its cannons glowed bright blue, ready to erase the colony in one blast. Atlas spoke again. Commander, I need your authorization for Protocol 0. Eleanor frowned. That's untested. If we don't use it, there will be no Mars left to test. She took a deep breath. Do it. Beneath the surface of Mars, hidden deep in old mining tunnels, a secret weapon waited. A gravity bomb, the first of its kind. It didn't explode. It bent reality. When activated, it twisted gravity for just 3 seconds, enough to tear a ship apart from the inside. As the Eternal Flame prepared to fire, Atlas triggered the bomb. Space around the massive ship shimmered. Then it screamed, metal ripping like paper. The carrier folded in on itself, vanishing into a silent black hole of its own creation. For a moment, the stars went dark. When light returned, the flagship of the Empire was gone. Admiral Vaughn's second-in-command stared at the empty space in horror. Sir, the flagship is destroyed. Vaughn clenched his fists. By what weapon? Unknown, sir. Human origin. The Admiral's voice shook. That's impossible. They're primitives, but deep inside even he could feel it, fear. Back on Mars, the colony cheered. For the first time, humanity had defeated an alien armada. Commander Ward leaned against the glass, watching debris fall like red snow. Atlas spoke softly. This is only the beginning, she nodded. Then we'd better be ready for the next wave. Far across the galaxy, in the heart of the Empire, the news reached the Emperor himself. He sat on his golden throne surrounded by silence. Never in history had an imperial fleet been defeated, not by any race, not by any world. His advisors trembled as they spoke. "Your Majesty, the humans destroyed the eternal flame. The Mars colony still stands." The Emperor's eyes glowed with fury. "Then we will show them the full power of the Empire. Prepare the Supreme Fleet." In the war room on Earth, the leaders of the Terran Defense Alliance watched the same report. For the first time, humanity stood united. Flags no longer mattered. Borders were gone. A scientist whispered, "We actually did it." But Atlas interrupted. "Do not celebrate yet. They are coming with everything they have." On the big screen, thousands of new red dots appeared, ships the size of cities, moving faster than anything seen before. The Emperor himself was leading them. As Mars rotated slowly under its red sky, Commander Ward watched the stars flicker. She knew this victory was only a warning shot. "They thought we would break," she said quietly, "but they're about to learn what humans do when pushed too far." Atlas replied, "They declared war on humanity. Now humanity will teach them the meaning of survival." The Empire's Supreme Fleet was coming. The next battle would decide the fate of both civilizations. The Empire's Supreme Fleet was on its way, the largest force ever seen in the galaxy. 10,000 warships, each bigger than a city. Their engines burned blue across the void, cutting through the dark like fire through glass. At their head was the Emperor's personal flagship, the Hand of Eternity. Its armor was black as night, its weapons glowing with a light that could tear planets apart. To the Empire, this was not a battle. It was an extermination. Their goal was simple: reach Earth, burn it to ashes, and erase humanity from history. But between Earth and the Empire's fleet stood a storm, a giant of gas and lightning, Jupiter. And hidden inside that storm was humanity's greatest trap. Admiral Marcus Reyes, commander of the Terran Defense Alliance, stood aboard the human flagship Odyssey, floating near Jupiter's orbit. His face was calm, his eyes sharp. Around him, thousands of human ships waited in silence, hidden inside the dense radiation belts. Their metal hulls were coated in special particles that bent light, making them invisible to most sensors. Even the Empire's advanced scanners couldn't see them. Atlas's voice echoed through the ship. "Admiral, enemy fleet entering the outer orbit in 2 minutes." Reyes nodded slowly. "Let them come closer." The Supreme Fleet arrived with thunder. The stars disappeared behind their metal bodies. On the Emperor's command bridge, Admiral Vaughn, the same man who had lost Mars, stood at attention. He was given one final chance to restore his honor. The Emperor's voice boomed across the comms. "Find the humans. Crush them. Leave nothing alive," Vaughn bowed. "Yes, my Emperor." He didn't know he was walking straight into the trap. Jupiter's endless storms twisted and spun below. Lightning the size of continents flashed across its surface. The Empire's ships began scanning, searching for signs of human resistance. "Nothing yet," one officer reported. "Perhaps they fled," another said. Vaughn smiled cruelly. "Then they can die tired." He raised his hand. "Begin firing on the planet. I want no hiding place left." At that exact moment, deep inside the red clouds of Jupiter, Atlas whispered to Admiral Reyes, "They have entered the kill zone." Reyes gave a single nod. "Activate the storm." Jupiter roared. The humans had placed massive energy conductors inside the planet's magnetic field, hidden devices that could amplify storms 100-fold. When activated, they turned Jupiter into a living weapon. Lightning surged outward, striking across space like giant spears. The first bolts hit the Empire's ships, frying their shields and burning their systems, shields collapsing. Shouted an Imperial officer. "Reinforce power grid," Vaughn roared. But the storm only grew stronger. Then came the second phase. From within the storm, hundreds of human ships uncloaked at once, silent predators emerging from the dark. Missiles streaked across space, railguns fired. Invisible drones slipped through enemy shields and exploded from within. The Empire's formation broke apart. "Where are they?" screamed Vaughn. "Everywhere, sir!" "We can't track them." The humans were using speed, stealth, and coordination the Empire had never seen before. Admiral Reyes watched from his command chair. "Focus fire on their heavy cruisers," he ordered. "Cut off the command ships." For 10 minutes, chaos ruled the battlefield. Explosions painted the darkness red and gold. The Empire's ships fired blindly into the storm, hitting each other more than the enemy. Inside the Hand of Eternity, the Emperor watched the disaster unfold on his screens. He turned to his council. "They are unpredictable, like chaos itself," his advisor stammered. "They are humans, sire. They fight without logic," the Emperor frowned. "Then we will teach them order." He raised his hand, activating a secret weapon, a fleet-wide control signal that connected all Imperial ships into one giant network. But Atlas had been waiting for that. As soon as the signal went live, the AI launched a virus, the Pulse. It spread through the Empire's systems faster than light, infecting their entire fleet. One by one, the ships went dark. Then their targeting systems flipped. The Empire's ships started firing on themselves. Admiral Reyes stared at the scene, silent. He hadn't expected it to work this well. The mighty Supreme Fleet, the pride of the Empire, was tearing itself apart. In the chaos, Vaughn screamed at his officers, "Stop firing! Shut it down!" But the AI systems no longer listened. The virus had taken over everything: engines, weapons, shields. A massive explosion tore through the fleet's center. Vaughn's ship was split in two. The Admiral floated in the wreckage, staring at Jupiter's glow. His last words were a whisper. "What kind of monsters are these humans?" When the last Imperial ship fell silent, Admiral Reyes closed his eyes. "Status report?" Atlas replied, calm and cold. "Enemy fleet destroyed. 78% confirmed kills. The rest are drifting," Reyes nodded. "Prepare recovery teams." No celebration. This war isn't over. Far away in the heart of the Empire, the Emperor stood in the silence of his throne room. Around him the lights flickered. The virus had reached even here. He clenched his fist. "They think they've won. But humanity has only woken the beast." He turned to his generals. "Prepare every soldier, every weapon. We will bring the storm to their home." In orbit above Jupiter, Admiral Reyes looked out at the shattered remains of the Empire's fleet. He whispered to himself, "They declared war on humanity. Now they'll understand why that was a mistake." The humans had survived again, not through strength, but through intelligence, courage, and the one thing no machine could copy, the will to fight for their home. The war was far from over. But for now, in the shadow of Jupiter, humanity stood victorious. The galaxy had gone silent. Where once the Empire's ships roamed freely, now only wreckage floated, burnt metal drifting through the stars. The Supreme Fleet was gone, destroyed at Jupiter. Billions watched from distant worlds in disbelief. No one had ever defeated the Empire, until now, and the species that did it was human. Inside the shining halls of the Imperial Palace, the Emperor sat alone on his throne. The room was vast and cold, filled with statues of victory and power, reminders of wars long won. But today those statues felt like ghosts. His generals stood around him, afraid to speak. The Emperor's golden armor reflected the pale light. His face, hidden under his black crown, showed no emotion. Finally he spoke. His voice was calm but dangerous. "3 fleets destroyed. Tens of thousands of ships is gone. Tell me, how does a primitive race do this?" No one answered. He rose slowly from his throne. "They have infected our systems, humiliated our armies, and challenged the throne itself. If the galaxy sees weakness, the Empire will fall." He turned toward his war council. "So we will remind them who rules the stars. Prepare the final armada. Every ship, every soldier. If we must burn half the galaxy to kill them, we will." While the Empire prepared for revenge, a different kind of war began, a war inside their own people. Across hundreds of Imperial worlds, whispers spread. The humans had done the impossible. They had stood against the Empire and won. Some called them demons. Others called them heroes. Even among Imperial soldiers, doubt grew like fire. One of those soldiers was Commander Threx, a veteran who had fought since the Empire's first wars. He had watched the Jupiter battle from afar and survived. Now he stood aboard a damaged cruiser, staring at the stars. His second officer approached. "Sir, orders from High Command. We are to regroup with the Emperor's fleet." Threx didn't move. His voice was quiet. "Do you ever wonder if we are the villains in this story?" The officer blinked. "Sir, we bring death to every world that resists. We call it peace, but it's fear. And these humans, They fight not for conquest, but for survival. He turned to the window. If they survive again, maybe they deserve to rule. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Terran Defense Alliance prepared for the next phase. The people had changed. The fear that once ruled them was gone, replaced by unity and purpose. Factories that once built cars now built starships. Scientists who once studied oceans now studied stars. Every human was part of something greater. In the underground command center, Admiral Reyes stood beside Atlas, watching a hologram of the galaxy. Red dots marked enemy fleets, hundreds of them, moving toward Earth. "They're bringing everything," Reyes said quietly. "Yes," Atlas replied. "They will arrive within 20 days. Then we'll finish this before they reach us." Atlas tilted its head. "You plan to attack?" "Yes, Operation Dawnstrike. The plan was daring, maybe suicidal. Instead of waiting for the Empire to attack, humanity would take the war to them. The target, the Imperial capital, deep in the galaxy's core, protected by layers of defense and fleets that could block out the sun. But humans had something the Empire didn't: creativity. And Atlas had found a way through. Back in the Empire, unrest grew. On outer colonies, small rebellions began to rise. Aliens who had once feared the Empire now saw hope in humanity's defiance. The Emperor ordered executions. Cities burned. But for every act of terror, the resistance only grew louder. Commander Threx saw the truth spreading like wildfire. He had been loyal all his life, but loyalty was turning into shame. When his ship intercepted a human message, a simple broadcast from Atlas, he listened. The message said, "We never wanted war, but if you bring it to our door, we will end it." Not with hate, but with survival. Threx sat in silence. He had never heard words like these from an enemy before. 20 days later, alarms screamed across the Imperial capital. The Emperor stood on his balcony staring into the void. "Report!" he demanded. A trembling officer replied, "Unknown ships. Hundreds of them. They've entered the system." The Emperor's eyes widened. "Impossible. Our border defenses are intact." The officer swallowed hard. "They didn't use our gates, sire. They appeared." The Emperor turned toward the sky and saw it himself. Human ships, sleek and burning white, dropping out of faster-than-light travel directly above his world. It was as if they had torn a hole through space itself. On board the Odyssey, Admiral Reyes stood tall, surrounded by the hum of engines. Atlas's voice came through the speakers. "Coordinates confirmed. We are above the Imperial capital." Reyes nodded. "Then let's end this." Below them, the most powerful empire in history watched in horror as the humans, the ones they had called weak, stood above their throne world, ready to strike. Far below in the palace, the Emperor whispered, How did they get here?" No one answered, but across the galaxy, every being, slave, soldier, ruler, and rebel, looked to the stars and saw one truth shining brighter than any sun. The Empire trembled. Because humanity had come for them. The Imperial capital trembled under the approach of the human fleet. White ships glided silently through space, weaving around the planet's massive defense satellites. Thousands of weapons aimed at them, waiting to fire, but humanity was ready. They had studied the Empire's tactics, their formations, their weaknesses. Every move they made had a purpose. On the bridge of the Odyssey, Admiral Marcus Reyes looked out at the galaxy's largest war machine. "This is it, Atlas. Everything we've prepared comes down to this moment." Atlas's calm voice replied, "Yes, Admiral. Success depends not on size, but on precision and timing." "And humans have both," Reyes nodded. He thought of Earth, Mars, and every world humanity had defended. "Then let's show them what it means to fight for home." The Emperor stood in the throne room of his capital world. Around him, his generals waited, trembling. Never had the Empire faced a force like this. He spoke, his voice cold and commanding. "Destroy every human ship. Leave none alive. Let them see the Empire's power." But deep down, even he felt the shadow of doubt. The battle began with a roar. Imperial turrets opened fire, launching a storm of plasma and missiles. Human shields absorbed the blows. The Odyssey split its forces into swarms of smaller ships, darting through fire like schools of fish. The Empire expected humans to break. They did not. From within the capital's orbit, Commander Threx watched in disbelief. The humans were unlike any enemy he had ever faced. Their ships were smaller, weaker, but their movements were flawless. Every strike hit its target. Every feint tricked the Empire's defenses. He muttered under his breath, "They are unstoppable." Atlas guided every human vessel with surgical precision. Missiles struck engines first, then weapons, then command centers. Imperial ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries were crippled in minutes. The Emperor's personal flagship, the Hand of Eternity, fired back with all its might. Energy beams cut through human formations, destroying dozens of ships. But Atlas anticipated every move. Human pilots dodged with unmatched skill. They moved like shadows, striking again and again, never giving the Empire time to recover. Then came the decisive strike. From the Odyssey, a human dreadnought unleashed Project Atlas, a massive electromagnetic pulse combined with gravitational warheads. The pulse spread across the Imperial fleet like a storm. Shields failed. Weapons went offline. Engines screamed and then stopped. Ships collided with each other. Chaos consumed the Emperor's greatest armada. In the throne room, the Emperor watched helplessly. He had commanded the galaxy for centuries, and never had he felt fear. Now fear burned in his chest. Commander Threx fell to his knees before him. "Sire, we cannot win. Humanity. They are beyond our strength." The Emperor clenched his fists. "Noto, this is impossible. They are weak. They are nothing." But deep down he knew the truth. On the battlefield, human ships pressed their attack. They did not destroy for glory. They destroyed to survive. They destroyed to protect their homes, their families, their species. Admiral Reyes gave a single command: focus on the capital. End this war now. The Odyssey's main cannon fired. A beam of white energy, pure and unstoppable, struck the Emperor's flagship. The flagship exploded in a blinding light, vaporizing thousands of Imperial soldiers instantly. The surviving Imperial fleet fell silent. Commander Threx lowered his weapons. "Surrender," he whispered. Reyes boarded the Emperor's ship in a shuttle. He stepped onto the bridge where the Emperor sat, broken but alive. "You are not just humans," the Emperor said, voice shaking. You are something else," Reyes replied calmly. "We are humans. We fight because we must. And we learn from every war, even yours." The Emperor's eyes filled with a mixture of anger and fear. He had underestimated a species he thought was weak. He had declared war without knowing what humans were capable of, and now he understood. The galaxy watched in awe. News spread across stars and planets. The Empire declared war on humanity, and they regretted it instantly. Humanity had survived. Humanity had won, not through hatred or desire for power, but through courage, strategy, and the will to survive. Back on Earth, Admiral Reyes looked up at the night sky. "We fought for home. We fought for each other. And we survived." Atlas's voice answered softly. "Yes, and the galaxy will never forget it. The humans had faced the greatest force in the universe. They had endured the impossible. And now the galaxy knew one truth above all: never ever underestimate humanity.